Every experience that you will ever have will come to an end. And for a lot of people, this is a major pain point because it can carry a lot of fear, there can be a lot of uncertainty, and naturally, as human beings, we like to have control over our lives and our life situations. So when we think about the next chapter or the next step, and we don't know what's going to happen, it's natural to feel scared. But is this a bad thing? That every thought, every emotion, every sensation, every experience, every situation, every person will come to an end? And before you know it, your life will be very unrecognizable. As human beings, we like to know where we are going. We like to feel like we have a sense of control over our life situation. That we can pave out the path and we know exactly what will happen next, how things will fall in order, and we can orchestrate the circumstances to be predictable. But the thing about life is that life is not a predictable process. Because even if it seems like everything is going well right now, I can guarantee you that there will be a period of your life where that house of cards comes falling down. And then what do? You don't have stability, you don't have that certainty anymore, you won't have the same people in your life. Every experience that you will be going through will be foreign to what you are experiencing right now. Because none of us can stop this passage of time. This is one of the rules of coming to planet Earth and having this human experience. Even though it can seem like a long time and we can be caught in these situations for seemingly ever, if you look back to your childhood, your adolescence, your early adulthood, to all of the different stages of your life, you'll probably realize that these experiences came and went pretty quickly. Because life is not a long process. At times it can feel long, don't get me wrong, but the older we get, the more perspective we have of it. When you are 10 years old, 1 year is 1/10 of your life, so it feels like a significant portion. But when you're 50 years old, suddenly 1 year isn't that long anymore. So we realize that time is fleeting. The older we get, the more time starts speeding up, or at least our perception of time starts speeding up. And we realize that our existence, the time that we have on this planet, is actually a tiny little blip. Because we're all on this conveyor belt towards death. And whether you like to admit it or not, whether you acknowledge it and you think about it, we are all going to die. And we are all going to die very, very soon. And I don't mean this in like a doomsday sense, the world's coming to an end or anything like that. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact, as a reality of being a human being who has an expiration date. How does this make you feel? Because I want you to really inspect these emotions that come up when you think about death, when you think about change, when you think about the fleeting nature of reality. What do you feel? Do you feel scared or uncertain? Do you feel excited? Could you care less? Because if you feel any negative response to this, then it means that you are still holding on to something. You are gripping onto the past for whatever reason. And don't get me wrong, I know it's easier said than done to let go, but you need to acknowledge that you are still holding on to something that is continuously moving. And if you're holding on to the past, even though you can't go back into the past, what this is going to do is cause a whole lot of friction or tension. And this can lead to anxiety, it can lead to depression, it can lead to fear, it can just lead to a reduced quality of life. So if you want to have a higher quality of life, and you want to be a happier person who is more at ease, who is more accepting of the nature of reality, of where we're going, of this very short period of life that we have, and to make the most of it, you need to not only accept, but embrace the temporary nature of your life. Because believe me, I see a lot of people in this day and age who see death as this unquestionable horror. It's something that they want to stay away from, they never want to think about, they never want to go near it. And, there's things that are as ridiculous as people wanting to live forever, developing new sciences and technologies, or even putting their consciousness in some chip so they have the possibility of living for longer than is natural. But do you think that is going to provide you happiness? Is hanging onto life with your fingernails going to actually make it a better experience for you? Consciousness in this form is just one chapter. No one really knows what's on the other side of death, but if you explore spirituality and you explore yourself, then you'll begin to realize that death is not a bad thing. Death is just another chapter, and this is the hard place to be. Death is a get out of jail free card. When that time comes, I'm excited to experience it. I'm excited to see what is over that fence, because I've spent my life exploring this reality, exploring my consciousness, and I am by no means a depressed person. I love my life, but I've cultivated this mentality or this perception that death is actually a beautiful thing. And believe me, once I started to see reality through this lens, that death is not the end all and be all, that it's not this bad thing that we don't want to move towards, rather it's just the next chapter of your experience happening, this has given me a lot of peace and a lot of comfort, knowing that whatever happens in this life experience will come to an end, no matter how much I suffer, no matter how much I fail, no matter how much pain I go through, as long as I am integral to myself, to my beliefs, to my values, I'm a good person, I live my life the best way that I know how, then I'm excited that it's going to be good. That death will bring me a lot of joy. And maybe I see this from a slightly different perspective from most people, because my life situation changes a lot. I am constantly living in different countries, with a different job, with a different partner, with different friends, with different community. Literally everything in my life, besides my backpack, is unstable. So I've gotten used to realizing the temporariness of every life situation, and instead of holding on to things and trying to go back into certain situations or times of my life, I realize it. I realize when a situation is naturally coming to an end and I don't hold on anymore. Because I know that if I am holding on to a past situation, then it's not going to bring me happiness, because whether I like it or not, my life situation is changing. I really have no control over this. I have no control over my life, even though sometimes I have the illusion of control. So what I've learned to do instead is to just let it happen. Even if it's scary or daunting or I don't know what's next, I will just say, you know what, this is happening for a reason and I can't go back. Because with every situation that passes in life, that door closes. So you can't go back to the way things were. Even if you somehow manage to squeeze yourself into that situation again, then you'll probably realize that it's not the same as it once was. Because that chapter of your life has ended. It's ended emotionally, it's ended mentally, it's ended spiritually. And again, even if you put yourself in that situation again, and you try and surround yourself with the same people and the same circumstances, and even if you are successful at doing that, you won't feel like it's normal anymore. you won't fit into that same box because you've outgrown it. Your life situation is pushing you along and it's saying, okay, we've done this, we've learned what we needed to learn from this chapter of your life, now it's time to step into something else. And sometimes that something else is going to be crap. Sometimes it's going to be painful and we're going to go through periods of our lives that suck. Sometimes we need to see it like you're crossing the desert to get to the green pastures on the other side. And even if you don't want to step into the desert because it's not a fun experience, you might need to because there's no other way around. You can't go around the desert. You can't stay in the same location. You have to move forward and you have to make this journey for yourself, for your own growth and your own self-betterment and your own spiritual development. So this is what impermanence is. It's the understanding that every situation will come to an end. Sometimes we invite these situations to come to an end, and sometimes we hold on to them kicking and screaming because we don't want them to end. But regardless, life is telling you that it's time to move on. And you can either listen to this, or you can numb it out and resist it and hold on anyway. Because when we follow this river downstream, you begin to enjoy the ride. You begin to see that it's not that scary and it's not that daunting going into these new places and this new territory of your consciousness. You find this sense of calmness not in a person or a place or a situation, but in yourself. And this is really the point of it, is to realize that the only thing that ever stays with you is you. And you will change. Your mind will change. You will get older. Your beliefs will change. Everything about you will change. So even that is somewhat of a lie. It's a fallacy to say that you will always be with you because you are always changing. But there will be something deeper to this, deeper to your experience of consciousness. And this calmness within it is what we should be striving for. That it's not based on a situation, it's not based on a thing, it's not based on a person, because we get a lot of comfort and security through having some sort of stability in life. But even if you manage to keep these things for a while, they're not going to stay there forever. And this doesn't mean not to love, doesn't mean not to have a great connection with family, because that's important, of course. But realize that they will eventually go. And everyone will eventually go before you go. So we do need to have this sense of non-attachment. This sense of realizing that these situations are going to pass whether we want them to or not. And there is nothing we can do about it. But we can live our best lives. We can love as much as we can love. We can spend time with the people that we love. We can appreciate the things that we have. We can appreciate the situations that we are in. Because this is really how this philosophy helps you live a better life. It's to help you appreciate just how good you have it right now. Because often we take everything for granted. We take these houses that we live in for granted. We take the people in our lives for granted. We take our situations and our health for granted. But it's not until these things start to transition, not just once, but again and again and again, that we start to savor each experience a little bit more. Because we know that that experience is eventually going to come to an end. So we need to make the most of it. We realize the ampleness of the situation for whatever it is. But most importantly, it encourages an existential pursuit. It encourages you to go on this path of learning and understanding and growth and letting go. And if you're on the other side of that fence, and perhaps you are in a really difficult situation right now, you're watching this video and you're saying, please, I wish my situation would pass because I feel a lot of suffering, I feel a lot of pain, I'm going through something terrible. but it just doesn't seem to pass. Learn everything that you need to learn from this situation, because I can assure you that there are some powerful lessons within it. And be present with the pain. Be present with the suffering. Be present with what you are going through, realizing that it will eventually end. And this is what I constantly remind myself when I am going through a very difficult situation and I don't know what to do and I don't know where to go. I say, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. It becomes a mantra. And guess what? Every situation that I thought would never pass, and I can think of a few of them, looking back and going back into it, to these periods of my life when I said, this is never going to end. Eventually it came to an end, because my life situation is different now. And I'm looking back on these experiences from a very different viewpoint, as will you. This will happen with you as well. You will look back from a very different viewpoint. So realize that it's okay. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to go through this. It's okay to experience trauma. It's okay to have a painful life experience, knowing that it will end.